Oh,
You
that's
look nice and
exciting.
comfortable. I like that. Nice and comfortable.
Well, you know what? I think we have everyone in here, Peter. So I guess we'll kind of get started here. But um, for a lot of you that don't know, I know you're probably sick and tired of me saying this, but I text Peter, but I always say uncle. He's like an uncle to me. We've known each other since I was barely walking. He's seen me
Yeah.
uh, run around, and he's been such a huge part of my life in racing, and his support and kindness to myself and the whole family has been nothing short of incredible. We really appreciate you, Peter. You've just been, I mean, you've been so fantastic for the sport, and the way you're able to tell a story. It's so captivating and exciting for first time listeners and people that have been doing it for years, watching and tuning into the races. So I really appreciate what you've done for the sport, man.
Yes. Come on. Had to do that.
You had me
Um,
there, yeah.
I've known the Singaras probably I would say 22, 23 years, something like that. And yeah, I saw little Kev and little Anita when they were just chewing on the ankle. Going, what is
Yeah.
that doing down there? But I'm so glad to see what you guys are doing. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I know that your parents have to be over the moon with what you've accomplished. And let me tell you something. Speaking as somebody who had a public stable, I guess was a good way to put it, where people bought pieces. It was called Black Diamond Racing. Our code was We Find Diamonds in the Rough. It is not an easy gig. You've got to keep everybody happy. You got to keep everybody enthused. And when I heard that you basically sold out within like a week, I said, they know this guy. They know what he's doing. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to Anita, and of course to mom and pop who are doing an amazing job. Naz, and of course Jeffrey.
Thank you so much, Peter. I really appreciate that. And I think everyone kind of wants to know how you got started, how you were a little guy and your dad took you to the most wonderful track in the world, and how you kind of fell in love with the game. How did that kind of happen when you were a little guy?
Oh, I was 4 years old. I went to the racetrack for the very first time, Santa Anita Park, when it really truly was the great race place. Hopefully, something happens over the next year to get us back to where we were. But, that's the nature of the beast now. It was actually the last day of the meet in 1966. Yeah, I'm old. Um, and my dad took me, and it was the year that Johnny Longden's last ride aboard a horse called George Royal. And I didn't know anything about it. I just wanted a chocolate donut before the race. And we are there, and you can imagine a 4-year-old kid looking up and just seeing these crowds of people. It's a little scary. And I remember we weren't really paying attention, me and my brother, and my dad said, "Hey guys, you want to pay attention because this is something that you're going to be able to tell your grandkids somewhere down the line." And all I remember seeing, and I'll probably block out my hand here, was the race happened. Everyone went nuts, and then as they were going around the winner's circle, there was what I thought at 4 years old was a very old man holding up his hand like this and kind of going around, being walked around on a horse. Now, lo and behold, when I started to go work in the business, somebody showed me a tape and said, just in case you thought you made it up, you didn't, because they showed me the winner's circle picture of Johnny Longden, and that's exactly what he was doing in the winner's circle.
Oh my God, that was your first memory.
Yep, yep.
That is so
And
cool.
there hasn't been a weekend that I wasn't at the track or talked about racing since then.
It's what a story, what a welcoming to the game, and you've worn so many. I mean, being one of the most prolific faces in broadcasting for horse racing. I mean, your start was in, I think it was 2002 with HRTV. I might be mistaken, but I think it
No,
was
that's true. That's
okay,
true.
2002. And could you kind of talk about what that process was like? I mean, HRTV at the time, I mean, it was this first 24/7 horse racing channel, and covering all the races, and you being the front of it. What was that like?
What it came down to is I was an actor, and I know you'll get into that later on. And I had what was a particularly really nice run for a couple of years. Um, and unfortunately, the IRS, I can say it, took a lot of it because I didn't own a house. I had nothing to use for taxes. And I remember my best friend, who was my tax guy at the time, said, "You need two things. You need a house and you need some sort of hobby that loses money." And I said, "Really?" Well, my father, old character actor, always wanted a horse but couldn't because of family. I said, "Well, what about owning a racehorse?" And he said, "Perfect. That's a loser if I ever heard one." So we started Black Diamond Racing, me and two friends, Dennis DeCower and Don Beardsworth. And this is no exaggeration. I think it was about 17 years we did it together, 18 years.
Wow.
The first 15, we were in the black. We were not losing money, we were making money. And the only thing that kind of got us at the end was we decided we were smart enough to breed, and that is a whole different animal. I still remember for a lot of you Canadians who maybe are on the line, showing of hands. Anybody Canadian? No, no, no. There's one. You will, my dear, soon be. Um, but Roger Atfield, probably the Charlie Whittingham of horses. We
Mhm.
bred our first horse, and we were at the Eclipse Awards, and we had just won. And the Eclipse Awards were like a month, 2 months later, and they were in Los Angeles. And I go there, not, just taking it in. And somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, Peter, if you got a second, Roger Atfield wants to meet you." I'm going, "The Charlie Whittingham of Canada? What the hell?" So I go there and I walk up, and I know he's Canadian. He is not Irish. He is Canadian. But as far as it sounded to me, it was almost came across like an Irish brogue. And he said, "Peter, it's just an absolute pleasure to meet you. I gotta tell you, we were so happy." My trainer at the time was Sean McCarthy. He goes, "McCarthy and you getting a winner with your very first homebred. Salute, son." And I said, "Mr. Atfield, that's fantastic, but it probably took us about 50 grand to get there. And I don't even think we're gonna make our money back." He said, "It doesn't matter, son." At that point, that kind of summed it up because I said, "Yeah, it does. you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
you you can break even." And that was our mantra. Let's as long I always said, I don't care if I have one horse or 20 horses. And at one point we did, as long as they pay their way. I
Mhm.
don't need to make a fortune. I just want to enjoy it. And
Sure.
then unfortunately COVID hit, and we were sitting around paying a ton of bills on horses that weren't making any money. And it
Sure.
just got to the point where, we just said, "Okay, well, we're going to run this horse. And if he gets claimed, we're not getting another one." And it just got to the point where it was better. It was a great experience for 17 years, but it was time for me to move on.
Sure. Sure. And so and that was, what year was that, Peter?
Well, that would have been what, COVID? So that would have been
COVID 20.
2020.
Okay,
No,
gosh.
2020. I
Okay,
was out by
gotcha.
then.
And it's interesting when you started your ownership experiences as an owner.
Mhm.
Was that with the famous Warren Studi? Was that the trainer that you had at the time? Is that who brought you into the game?
Our first trainer was a guy named Craig Stevens, who was a friend. His dad and my dad used to sit on the bench at Santa Anita and gamble. And he said, I knew Craig, but, from the track. And he said, "Hey, Craig's decided he's taking out a trainer's license. You guys should get a horse together." And that was right at the time when I needed a write off. And I thought, well, this would be great. My dad gets a racing, I get in racing. And we got going. He only had one horse with him. And we got claimed. We bought another one. The horse's name is Way the Best. And we
Mhm.
claimed it off of Warren Studi. Well, this horse was an absolute nut. You could not saddle him to save your life. And after a while, this trainer said, "You know what? I can't do it." And he said, "Well, what do you suggest?" He goes, "Well, we can approach Warren Studi. He's the guy he claims it off of. He's just over there at the bar. Why don't we see?" And he agreed to do it after making us twist in the wind. But that was Warren's sense of humor. He loved to make people feel uncomfortable. It goes all the way up to Richard Mandela. He just had that kind of a sense of humor. And he just said to me, He had that voice. He looked like Chuck Connors, the rifleman.
Mhm.
He just went, you know what? Why don't you come on out and I'll introduce you around? And that was for a kid who'd been around the racetrack, that was just like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. This is it. Everyone would come up to me and say, excuse my language, we can swear, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Yep.
Okay, well, I'll keep it semi-clean. Trainers would come up and say, "How the f did you get this guy? He hates everybody. He's just a curmudgeon." And he treated me like the uncle I never had. Okay,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you and me.
Yeah.
He treated me like he was the uncle I ever had, and
Yeah.
he just introduced me around, and I had the ball. My two partners were like, "How's it going?" And I go, "Oh man, it's the greatest thing ever. You guys have to come out." He introduces you to everybody. It's like you feel like you're in royalty. And they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh great, we'll go out." So they go out for this one morning workout to watch our horse work. And there was a trainer I'm sure you remember, but a great trainer named Henry Marino. He
Hmm.
was a guy who trained Tisna, Bastanera, a lot of really famous horses from South America. But Henry liked to break. hmm, like to kick you in the goodies.
Yeah.
And they walked up and Warren said, "Hey," he goes, "Hey, I'd like you to meet." He always called me Lurie. He didn't say Lurie. He always said, "I want you to meet Laurie's partners. This is Dennis and Don." And they stuck their hands out, being very nice gentlemen. And Henry, loving to break the what, the cojones, said, "Well, it's always been in my experience that in a partnership, there's always one a-hole." He used a different word. And he said, "I've already met Peter. Which one of you two is it?" And then he said, "Excuse me." And he walked off. And they were like, "Did he just install?" They called me on it. I said, "No, dude, he's just having fun. He's
That is.
just having fun." But it was amazing because I mean, I got to meet even before HRTV. I got to meet Baffert, Bobby Frankel, Richard Mandela. I mean, the list goes on. And it
Oh,
was one of the most fun and enjoyable times of my life. Next
that
to
is.
this, doing this.
Oh, that is such a cool story. And I mean, man, he is just horse racing royalty. That guy, and
Absolutely.
is what to be able to have those experiences. I mean, it's not everyone gets to say that. So I'm envious of you in that situation. And I do really want to talk about your broadcasting career, but I think where we need to start off is how you got into acting and how a special tram at Universal Studios was your catalyst to get into acting and eventually get into broadcasting and me seeing your face every weekend. So
No,
what happened that Saturday at Universal Studios on the tram when you were working the tram and being the host for the tram? What happened that fine day?
well, to bring it just to close it up a little bit, I didn't want to be an actor. My parents were hippie actors. You never want to do what your parents want to do. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I went through high
Really?
school, went and got accepted to go to Scripps and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is going to be cool. It's like, the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. And I'll be out there going, look at the Lesser Flotsam and the giant great white shark. It was going to be fabulous. Uh, but I said to my guidance counselor, he says, "Well, it looks like it's good. And it looks like you're going to be good." And I said, "That's great. Hey, by the way, what does a marine biologist pay?" And he said, "Full professor at the time, about 17 grand." And I
Yeah.
realized Universal, I was making more money sweeping up the park than doing that. So I went, okay, well, maybe since I can acting, I can do. So I was doing the plays and having fun. I went and did a movie in Paris, but this was all while I was a tour guide. That was what I considered my waiter job. So I'm going by the tram, on a tram. I'm going by the what they called the property warehouse. Back in the old days, it was a real tour, not now, but it was then. Um, and absolute true story. Two guys were walking by the tram, like you do. And one of them, I was told, said, "That guy makes a fortune doing voiceover. Why is he on a tram?" Lucky for me, the other guy knew me and said, "Who do you think that is?" He said the name. He said, "That is not him." That guy pulled out a card, handed it to him and says, make sure he gets this. He was the owner of one of the largest and most popular recording studios for voiceover work in the state, and that was Bell Sound. So
My
if I would
God.
if I would have gone out a tour early or a tour late, I would have been doing nothing.
Isn't that is just crazy
Yeah, yeah.
how the stars align for, something incredible to happen like that, and the career
Or
that you've
dumb
had.
luck.
Or dumb
Dumb
luck,
luck.
yeah. Right, that's
Yeah.
what Craig Delassie said. He'd rather be lucky than good or something like that in the
You
last
know
End
what?
Game.
Any actor who tells you when I hear the term breaks, I made my breaks. I go, dude, I come from an acting family. Guys who had to do two, three jobs outside of that to do this. Don't, just go, thank you.
Yeah.
Just be glad you got lucky.
Well, it's funny, everyone. We went out to dinner, Peter and myself, my dad. We went out to a hibachi restaurant in LA, and we're there. And I knew Peter was, you know, a guy in LA, especially with his voiceover work. But we're sitting there, and Peter's telling a story, and our chef, who's making all the hibachi, says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" He's like, "Hey, your name's not Peter Lurie, is it?" And he's like, "Do I owe you money?" Or he's like, what? He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan of yours." And he went on to name like all these different characters that you have done, like Sabretooth from X-Men, and Leatherhead from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and all these other animes. And I could not believe
Naruto.
Naruto.
Naruto
That's
was
right.
that was the one he went nuts for.
That's what he did.
Hashirama Senju. Yep. Yep.
And it was so funny, you guys. We were sitting there, and everyone's hungry, and he's like, "Do you mind if I get all the other chefs? They're huge fans of you." So they brought out all the chefs in the restaurant, and they all took a photo with Peter. And I just felt like, yeah, I'm sitting here with Peter. Yeah, yeah, this is my buddy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's my bro. It's my
yeah,
bro. My home slice.
my home slice, my
Yeah.
home skillet.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. And so then from that, Peter, and the success that you had, how did that transition into the 2002 gig of HRTV that turned into that long 20 something year campaign of being a broadcaster? How did that transition to that?
Well, like I said, Kev, it was I always said with these partners, by the way, that horse weighed the best went back to Warren. Warren, older man, could saddle anything. And this thing started to act up in the paddock, and we were like, oh God, it's gonna kill him. He grabbed, this is a man who's probably 70 at the time, grabs like a bit of skin right on the flank and just says, settle down. And the horse literally went like this. Put the saddle on, he slapped it and goes, good boy. Got him up. We won the race, got claimed. Best way to go. You win and you get claimed. That's a home run. Um, so we, at the time before HRTV, we had built it up to, I think we had about 12 or 13 horses in the barn and a fair amount of money in the bank. We didn't take the money out. We just said, this is just a wild ride. Let's have some fun with it. We were loving it. We were being big time owners, whatever. Um, but there was a group, the table. If you were really cool at the Clockers Corner, which you guys are cool because you're there all the time. There was this one particular table, it was a big round one, where all the big old time guys would go there and they'd all tell their stories. And it would be Warren, it would be Bobby Frankel, it would be Bob Baffert, it would be Ron Ellis, Henry Marino. It would go Art Sherman, Papa Sherm, if you really know him, you call him Papa Sherm, and he's got that almost that Bill Murray in Caddyshack. Guy talks like this. He's got his lip down here, and he goes, this guy came up to us at one point and says, "This is going forward before. Well, I'm on the show now."
Yeah.
This guy comes up and goes, "Hey, Peter, I know you're a big fan of old stuff. I've got something you want to see." And he pulls out this program, and it was from opening day, like I think it was like my birth date. So it's going back there.
Oh
And he
my
opened it up. He goes, look at the. I want you to look at this. Look at the Malibu. I open it up. He goes, look who's riding. I'm going down the list. Shoemaker. Whatever. And I go, Arthur Sherman. I go, is that Papa Sherm? Did he ride? And he said, yeah. And Art came and was sitting down with his lovely wife. And I looked at Henry and I go, Henry, Papa Sherm. in the Malibu. And Henry, liking to bust the cojones, says, well, I'll tell you one thing. If that was Art Sherman, I guarantee he was 5 wide the whole way. Excuse me. And he got up and walked out. That was always his line. Excuse me. And he got up and he'd walk away.
That's so
But
funny.
and then Art Sherman went, well, you're probably right about that, man. I just, yeah, I was, at that point in my career, I was, self-preservation. No, all right, cool. So yeah,
That's
so
funny.
that's what it's called. But there was a guy that used to go there all the time, and he would say, "Hey Pete, can you do, oh man, you got to do James Mason," and I'd just be like, all right, so we'll do James Mason talking about
Oh
Joe, you've got to abide by what is written. He said, do Harvey Firestein. I just want to be loved. This it's so wrong. Just there was a list of people he'd want me to do. Joe Pesci. Okay. This is what's going on. Never go to the drive-through because you in the drive-through. They know you're not coming back. So um, this guy used to make me do this all the time, and I'd say, all right, fine, whatever. One day he came up and said, hey, do you have a picture and resume and a tape in the car? Because back then you had tapes or I forget, they just became CDs.
what's that?
Well, voiceover tape.
I'm
Sorry.
joking.
I know. I know. The lady right next to you is laughing up and going, "Yeah, eased up, son." Um, that is, let me see. That would be Julie. Hi, Julie. She doesn't know. You wave back, Julie. Put your hand up so I can see it, Julie. No? Okay. Never mind. Um, I said, well, what's it for? He goes, yeah, there's something in my car. He goes, don't worry about it. It's probably not a big deal. I didn't think anything about it. About a month later, I get a phone call from the head of broadcasting saying, hey, listen, we just got your tape and resume, and we'd like to talk to you about something. Is there any chance you can come in this week? And I said, well, sure. I'm assuming it's just to do a commercial for Santa Anita. I thought, great, great. I walk in the door and they said, Brent Lotta is a huge fan of yours.
Wow.
And I was like, Brent Lotta? I said, that's great. I'm a huge fan of his. Who's Brent Lotta? And she started to laugh and she said, Brent Lotta is the right-hand man of Frank Stronach, who owns
Mhm.
all these racetracks at the time. And I said, wow. I said, so we're in the process of trying to put together a station to somewhat compete with then the Television Games Network, TVG. And we'd like to talk to you about it. So we talked for a little while and I said, great. So do I come in? Do I audition? They said, no, we're offering you a job.
Oh, no way. You got it without.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I knew that.
And it was just, they looked at it and said, he's an owner, he was an agent, he's been a horse player his whole life. This is about gambling. I guess, we'll all learn together. And that's exactly what we did. Back then, there were only 3 people. John White, who was on from 8 to 4. Okay. When you hear other people complain, 3 hours, man, I can't do this. Shut up. Just shut up. 8 to 4. I did 4 to midnight. Imagine the racetracks I was
Oh my
getting.
gosh. Midnight. Wow.
But back then, there was Chicago Standardbreds, there was Meadowlands, there was Mountaineer.
Mhm.
On certain nights, I would draw, like Hollywood Park on a Friday night, or get what I loved was getting Emerald Downs, and before it became known as Hastings, right at the end there, Exhibition Park
Mission
on a
Park.
Friday
That's
night.
good. Yes,
I
sir.
got to know people like Kenny Skinner and Chris Lozip and all that fun stuff. So I learned a lot on the road there. I learned a lot. There was a small group in the beginning that were watching, but they really liked it. And this one guy, I I would say there was a track called Balmoral. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Chicago harness track, no longer around. But we'd go to a commercial break and I'd say, coming up, we've got racing from the Meadowlands and Balmoral. We'll be back with more. And somebody emailed and said, hey, tell Pete, love what he's doing, but it's Balmoral. It's not Balmoral. And the reason why I called that was because when I was 21 and went to Vegas for the very first time, my father and I went to the book. And there was a guy back then. You could tell. I imagine he was really old, probably bald, kind of heavy set, who was on a mic, and every casino had the same guy. And he would just go, coming up next, Garden State 5, and then every
Yeah.
time it was Balmoral, he'd go, Balmoral, coming up in 12. So I assumed that was the name. So we all learned.
Oh my God, and so that's how you landed that. I had no idea. And funny
Yeah,
enough, you said Kenny Skinner, right?
yeah.
Do you know that he actually dated my aunt for a while?
Who was going to be my TV wife?
Is that right?
No, no. I was talking about you're a man of varied trades, and you were pitching some idea where I played
Oh
the
yeah.
uncle.
Oh,
I
that's
thought you
right.
meant, I thought you meant your actual aunt.
No, my
Yeah,
real aunt, dated Kenny Skinner for Dad. I don't know if you're on right now, but if you can unmute yourself, I think that was. Is that, am I right in
Dad,
saying that?
Yeah.
Jeffrey, jump in.
Hi, everyone.
Jeffrey, jump in.
Yeah. So
Jump in,
Kenny
pal.
Skinner, that was much to the dismay of my father when my 16-year-old sister, uh,
Ooh,
no, sorry. No, she was 16 when she started to go to the track a few times. And when she graduated high school and went to France to go to school, she came back and started a relationship with Kenny Skinner, and
wow,
and they were very serious. So
really?
he moved to New York to go ride in New York because my sister ended up going to Sarah Lawrence College back there,
Okay,
and so they were an item for quite a while, and yeah, and he was so Kenny. He used to, he was the king here at Hastings or at Exposition Park
right,
in those days,
right.
and he was fantastic.
Hmm.
Probably in my opinion, he was the best rider outside of John Longden. He was probably the best rider to ever
Really,
ride here. Yeah, he
Chris?
was. There's
What
no
about
doubt. He was a
how did
very
Chris Lozef rank up with them?
he was good. Chris he won a lot of races, but in terms, it's like having
Actual ability,
well, it's like having a Ferrari or a NASCAR. Just two different types,
right?
The
Well, Kenny
Ferrari
proved.
Formula One,
Kenny
that was more Kenny Skinner,
Well, I was going to say Kenny proved it because well, you know this, he went down and competed against the best of the best at Santa Anita when he was riding down there.
He Val Dubois, he rode him for Bobby Frankel. Bobby
Right.
Frankel and Kenny Skinner were very, very close, and Angel Cordero and Kenny Skinner were best friends. So Kenny Skinner went back to New York, and he used to ride there in the winter, and he did very well. And he went to the Orient, and yeah, it was a really tragic the way his life uh, ended up. But he
Unraveled.
was a
Yeah.
very, 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 very talented jockey. And he was very close to me when I was a kid. He used to take me when I was 10 years old. He would take me up and go skiing up at Grouse Mountain. And
Oh,
we were very, very, very close. I really loved Kenny Skinner. He was great. He won the Queen's Plate back at Woodbine, and everyone loved him. He was like P-Val. Everyone
yeah.
loved Kenny Skinner. He was a real personality.
More importantly, we just found out that Jeffrey Singara was a mogul maniac. The more you know.
Very
That's
good.
it.
Very
That's
Known
what
him
shook all the screws loose in my head. So.
and I'm sure Naz goes, get on those things again, and you're out of here.
She's encouraging me to get out of there. Yeah, I'm spending far
Really?
too much time smothering her all the time.
Oh, I love you, Naz, wherever you are. I love you.
She's on the other end. She's making Anita dinner. So,
Oh, bye, Anita. I love you too.
yeah.
So, Peter,
Please continue.
I'm
They
I'm
just
just
said hello.
I'm just curious. What what does it take to be able to be a good presenter? Like, how does it come to you where you're able to tell a story when it comes to a race? How does the actual race analysis? How do you develop that and hone in on that and present that the way you did over so many years?
Well, it's going to sound a little self-serving, but my dad, who was a great handicapper, he was a character actor, um, who also wrote one of his millions of jobs to get put food on the table. He wrote for American Turf Monthly, which was a pretty popular sheet magazine back in the, I think, what was it, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I think it stopped somewhere in the 90s. It might still be going. He always told me when I got the job, and I said, wow, man, it's going to be a lot of people who really know. He said, listen, son, you know as much as they do. They may not like the fact that you do, but you do. You know as much as they do. The one advantage you have is you speak for a living. He says, not just because somebody knows something, it doesn't always come across. And that's no besmirching anybody. But in
Hmm.
the beginning, like that, he just said, just do what you do. Be just who you are. And somebody recently who was a long time um, vice president of marketing, Santa Anita, Naira, what have you. I'm not going to embarrass him by bringing up his name. He said to me recently, what I love about you is you're relatable to everyone.
Hmm.
You're not
You are.
somebody that everyone that someone goes, ooh, I don't know, man. He's a little too high end for me. He goes, Doug O'Neill once told that on a radio show. They asked, for some reason, Roger Stein's old show. They asked about a couple of people on the HRTV new team, and he just said Pete comes across like somebody that you'd want to hang out on a bench at the track with.
Hmm.
And to me, that was the best compliment anybody could give.
Yeah. No, you are so likable. That's the one thing is just you're so likable and you're just so easy. You're able to convey a message to all racing fans. It doesn't just have to be the top tier guys that are looking at thoroughgraphs and all these scientific numbers. You can also someone that's going to the racetrack for the first time could pick something up, and I think that's something that makes you so special. Being a presenter.
I might get guff from a lot of people, but and I'm probably wrong for not doing it, but there are so many people that are just like, yeah, I don't handicap. I just whatever the sheets tell me or whatever PowerPoint tells me or whatever. I don't want to do that. I want to. My old man gave me the best. He had a great statement, I should say, as he was getting up in years. And I said, "Hey, Pop, I mean, he was out at the track every weekend, and I'd say, Pop, you know, $20 a day, I can give you, $50 to play with." And he said to me, you know what, son, at this stage of the game, I just want to know that it's a puzzle. And at the end of the day, I solved it. Whether I
Mhm.
make a fortune or just come back with my original money and had some entertainment, it's a puzzle. I want to solve it. And I look at it the same way. And again, I'm probably completely wrong. There's people listening right now who go, well, you know nothing because the sheets are great because this one got a 5 and this one got a 2. And I said, yeah, well, isn't it somebody there is determining what the 5 and the 2 is? Well, yeah, but I said, well, that's their opinion. And it's
Mhm.
great. Everybody has to have an opinion. It's like golf. You're never going to get this right all the
Mhm.
time. And if it
Mhm.
was really super easy, everybody would do it, and then nobody would do it because you weren't going to be making a dime on it then. So
Uh-huh.
that's what I love about it. It's a puzzle, and when you walk out at the end of the day and go, ha, I was pretty good today, and then the
Yeah.
next day you can just get completely blanked. So that's life.
100%. That's fantastic way to put it. And you're I for me, I would just remember every single weekend. I still, until recently, I just remember every single weekend you were included in my life, being on the on site
Aw.
with Santa Anita. And what would you say was some of your more favorable days to be a host at Santa Anita? Like, would it be specific days? Would it be specific races to be able to uh, handicap? What was that like being the Santa Anita host?
Well, now you talking about Santa Anita's feed or the
Yeah,
HRTV feed?
the Santa Anita feed.
Oh, um, you know what? It just to me, if everybody wants to do the really super big races, everybody wants to be on for, the big cap, the Breeders' Cup. And yeah, who doesn't? But my feeling is if I'm on with my partner or partners and it's smooth, it's fun. There's a difference between fun and funny. You can be funny if it's natural, but there are people who try to go, aha, watch this, man. I'm the funny guy or gal. I'm going to
Mm,
do this big laugh. Then it comes across it's not genuine. If something happens just because it's natural and it turns out to be funny, great. But to me, when you've got that kind of a thing with your partner and somebody who's listening is not going, okay, what did they say? Oh God, just get to the point. If you're doing that, then in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, you're not doing your job. If
Hmm.
it's easy for everybody to listen to and they're not turning off the volume,
Sure.
then you've got something. Then you've got
Yes.
something. But not everybody agrees. You know,
Yes, sir. No, and I know that there's going to be some questions here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know people want to ask you these questions, but I
keep
want to
going.
ask I want to ask you, Peter. I know you had a stint as a jockey's agent. What was that like? What does it take to be a jockey's agent? And um, you see so many people filtering in and out of that career, and if you could just shed some light on what that's like on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's very simple. First, get a jockey.
Hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, there it is. And you can.
Um, Gary Studi, who was the nephew of Warren Studi, became our trainer. But we had one horse. We lost the horse after one race, and we were kind of like, I don't really see anything right now. And they're going to Hollywood Park. I don't know. He said, "Hey, why don't you become the agent of Matt Garcia? Matt, good rider, good hands, not the brightest bulb in the toolbox." Um, I really had a great natural ability. Unfortunately for Matt, Matt would say the wrong thing and do the wrong thing, and people would get angry.
Hmm.
There were certain people who just ignored it, used him, and they did very well. The Studies were one of them.
Hmm.
He did very well with them. Barry Abrams, rest his soul, was amazing. Um, because he knew how to deal with that. And I
Hmm.
said, well, I don't know, can I do this? Matt wrote a bunch of winners for me. He said, as long as you treat him like a 10-year-old, you'll be fine. Now, if you do that to other jockeys, they're going to say, hey, I don't need you. You're fired. It becomes down to relationships for me. I was the kind of guy, and now it's not really like that because everybody's on their phone doing everything from wherever they are. But I would make it a point to be the first guy at the track. I would walk up and down the shed rows, try to get a rapport going with people. I mean, whether it's talking about the football game we saw last night, the baseball game, what are you doing? Where are you going? Da, da, da. And then I would just try to, ease in a little. Hey, so do you need any work? Well, he doesn't really ride for me. Okay, well, how about this? We'll come out and work any horse you have with no guarantee to ride. I just want to show you he can do what he does.
Hmm.
And some people allowed that to happen. And it was great. And we did very, very well. This was then HRTV showed up.
Mm.
And I said to Matt, I said, look, this thing's starting. The person, I still remember the person. There was a guy named Ivan Puich, who of course is Mike Puich's. I believe it was his uncle.
Oh,
A
wow.
great jockey's agent. And when I was thinking about taking the HRTV gig, he came up and he was kind of a scary guy at the time. He just goes up and goes, all right, I want to talk to you. And I said, sure, Ivan, what about? He goes, look, I've heard about what you got offered. You're a good agent. I go, well, thank you. Shut up. You're a good agent, but you can always do this. This is the future. And
Yeah.
John Sadler, who I did not know, saw me, said, get in the car, I'll give you a ride. And I went, really? And he goes, yeah, get in the car. I'll give you a ride your car. And he told me the same thing. So I went to Matt and I said, hey, what do you think? If you don't want me to do it, I won't do it. He said, no, no, we're going well. That'll help us. People will see you more. Great, do it. And he never would win a race during Del Mar's meet in the first week. He barely rode. I got two winners out of him the very first 2 days. So I'm driving up the highway. Unbeknownst to me, a former wife approached him and said, you don't need him. I can do it. So on my way to, I learned how it is wonderful being an agent and how it's terrible. I was
Yeah.
driving, I was going to drive myself crazy uh, on Monday and Tuesday. I would be there, see the works, do all that fun stuff, get the mounts for the week, and then I would drive up and go work 4 to midnight. The first week I did that, I was going up. I got to San Juan Capistrano. My phone rang, and he said, "Oh yeah, my ex-wife thinks she can do better. I'm sorry." Click.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah, but you know what? It was probably the best thing that could have happened because I
yeah.
would have been physically and mentally dead by about a month into it.
That
So it was
schedule.
okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, that schedule is just insane. I mean, I'm tired after a couple of emails. I'm like, oh God, I gotta get a coffee.
No, who's watching right now and believes that? You are the Energizer Bunny. You've got the stable going. And my prediction is this stable, and I'm not just saying this, is going to be one of the biggest stables at the upcoming meet at Emerald Downs. Just you heard it here, folks. You
Thank you,
heard it
Peter.
here.
That means the world, man. Thank you so
Well,
much. And
you
I,
work
I,
hard.
I have one more question, and I'm going to turn it to the wonderful investor that I consider my family.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on horse racing, its environment, and what the evolution of horse racing looks like in the upcoming years? For smaller tracks and for the big tracks, what do you see? I mean, you've been around so many incredible people with so much insight at different angles. What do you think you've kind of picked from different people and knowledge from here and there and kind of have your own thoughts on?
It's interesting you bring that up because about 13 years ago, I want to say, right towards the end of HRTV, I got asked to go down to the racetrack symposium, which was going on in like a convention. Not the one in Arizona. This one was playing in New Orleans. And I said to be the keynote speaker. And I thought, well, I don't know what to talk about. And when I got there, I said, well, guys, what do you think? And they said, so I've never done this before. And they said, well, just, you've been around. Tell us what you think is going to happen in racing. And I thought, okay, opened up with a nice joke. It was a little bawdy, so I'm not going to tell it, but it got a big laugh. And I went, oh, thank God. I'm glad I've won them over. Because if you lose on that one, it's like crickets for the rest of the show. Um, and I said that I started by saying there's a lot of people out there, and this was 13 years ago, who were saying that racing is dead, it's over, we're done. I don't think it's dead. What I think is going to happen is it's going to metamorphosize. It's going to consolidate. You are not going to have 400 racetracks going on in the US. You're just not.
Mhm.
Because there's not enough horses. There's not enough interest because we're going into that world now where people like Kevin's age watch something for about 30 seconds and go, yeah, okay, next. Not Kevin, mind you, or Anita, but so we've already seen it. Hollywood Park went away. Um, Fraser Downs went away. Hastings went away. I think Emerald stays at least for the foreseeable future, because you have to have, there are breeders up there, and not only in Vancouver, BC, and the BC market, which doing work over at Century Downs and Century Mile, I've got to know a lot of the Barbara Head, a lot of the trainers from Vancouver, BC, and I really admire the work they do. And I thought it was an absolute travesty that that track was allowed to go away. I
Mhm.
loved Hastings, but anyway, I digress. Um, I think Emerald works. The thing I think works is that you're going to have horses that are coming from different places. A lot of the Northern California fair circuit that went away, those horses fit into your class level perfectly.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to work um, for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
But there are a lot of tracks. If you go through it, I'm not going to try to play death march on them. But there are a lot of tracks that aren't going to be there. Pompano went away. Balmoral went away. Maywood went away. Arlington went away. My opinion, Hawthorne is on unsteady legs. I think tracks like Fairmount Park, which by the way, I am now the full-time guy for them,
Oh,
which is
get out of here.
nice.
Congratulations, man.
They jumped on it when Santa Anita went away. Unfortunately, for folks who maybe don't know, Santa Anita unfortunately was going through massive budget cuts, and somebody had to get cut. So here I am. I can't say I agreed with it, but I respect them. I wish them the best
Well,
moving forward.
we're definitely going to
Um,
just be with base there. That's for sure. A
just
lot of
boycott it. Boycott it. No, I'm
yeah.
kidding. Absolutely kidding. I still go there, you know. But it's like I tell people. I told Kevin this when he heard. He was not very happy about it. I said, it's like a TV show. Shows come to an end. I did 5 years on the Ninja Turtles. It came to an end. You move on to something else.
Mhm.
And luckily, the folks over at Fairmount Park, Vince Gabbard, who is the senior vice president and the general manager, ran Keeneland for years.
Mhm.
And he just decided he wasn't on pace with the direction Keeneland was going. He saw that Excel Entertainment had taken over Fairmount, got themselves that casino money, which you need to compete now.
Mhm.
And now they look like, with Hawthorne having problems, these guys could really move forward. And I think
Yeah.
that track, who's been around since 1925, might
Mhm.
become, I don't know if they're going to become an A-list player, but they can easily be a B-list, no problem. So,
Sure.
and I'm lucky they wanted me to work for them.
That's
Hence the
fantastic.
green, hence the green screen.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Okay,
Well, listen, Peter,
yeah,
I'm so grateful, and I want to turn it over to the investors. I know that they probably have a
feel
couple of
free.
questions or want to know a couple of stories. But if you guys could just raise your hand if you guys do have any questions for Peter or
I
any
like
comments
nothing.
or anything like that, just click that little raise hand button, and we'll get a list going here for Peter. It'll just take
He's
a few
like,
seconds.
nobody.
And nobody, no, just
Get him off the air, man. We don't want
no,
what
we
he
got a couple here.
we don't want
Brad,
what he's buying.
you're on, Brad. If you unmute yourself and ask your question, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, it's been great.
Oh,
Hey,
thank you, Brad.
have you seen the performance by this actor from Vancouver? He was in a show called Murder in a Small Town. He's in the
I know
second
the
season of
name.
the first episode.
I
It
know
was
the
fa-
name.
I think he's gonna get an Emmy for this performance. He was
Interesting.
I was stunned when I saw it.
Oh, is it that Kevin Segara? He's getting a
Yes.
lot of buzz. He's getting a lot of buzz. I'm also a Shorzy and what's the other one? What's his first one?
Oh, letter.
Shorzy Letterkenny. I'm a Shorzy Letterkenny myself, and Kim's Convenience. Love those shows.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Kids
Anyway,
convenience too.
I know there's a question there somewhere. Let's go.
Yeah. So when you look at a race, jockey, the trainer, what's the number one handicapping tool you use or thing you use?
I'm a pace guy all the way. Now, what I try to do, and I did this when I was trying to claim horses, but this goes back way before. I believe the first quarter of any race, wherever you are, is the most important. That's when the jock and the trainer's plan comes into play. They get early position, they take back, they do whatever they're going to do. So, what I try to do with the handicapping, looking at the form or Brisnet in my favor, I try to set up what I think is a pace picture, who I think is on front, who's coming up behind them, who's the back of the pack. And then by a process of my own elimination, which would take a while to discuss, I start throwing horses out. And I try to decide if there's too much speed in the race, then I'm looking to say, okay, who's got the best turn of foot? Come get them. If there's only one speed horse in the race, if I think he or she is in condition, then I'm gonna try to steal the darn thing. And it's, I still remember this horse, oh gosh, Midnight Mammoth, and it was in, I believe, the Cougar. And this is an absolute true story. I looked at the race, and Kevin will tell you if I think well, I think he'll get a piece. I'm honest. I don't go, oh, we're gonna win, we're gonna win. I mean, I'm not a Debbie Downer, but I try to be somewhat realistic. And I remember I said, I can see this horse if he's not on the lead, he's right there, and I think the distance he's gonna absolutely love. And what happened, Kevin?
Yeah, he went and ran away from Reincarnate Salesman by 10.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, that doesn't always work that way, but when you can see something like that on a page, That's the ones where you just, I mean, I think where the problem betters do make a mistake, and we all do it, is when you're putting together, like, let's say a pick four ticket or something. You don't have enough confidence in what you see. And you go, instead of saying, well, this is the horse I think is going to win, but you'll go, I'm going to take 4 or 5 in this race because I don't want to be wrong. That's unless you really think it's such a wide open race that there's a chance for some big prices, I think you're just spending money you don't need to. You'd be better off having an opinion in a couple of the races in that pick four sequence. And then if you're right, it's going to pay really well compared to what you're spending.
Right. Yeah. I second guess too much.
We all do.
So, yeah. Hey, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. It's always Pete, never sir.
All right, Pete.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brad. I think we have one last question here, unless anybody else wants to. But Dad, go ahead.
Hello there. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I've got 2 questions. One is what, and Kevin briefly touched on this. What is your favorite? What was your favorite day at Santa Anita to be doing the broadcast? What day would it be? Would it be Big Cap Day? Is it Derby Day? Is it one of the preview days for the Breeders' Cup? What was the one day that really just like, oh wow, I can't wait! This is going to be a great day to be able to do my shtick.
Jeffrey, the Big Cap was always, because it was near and dear to my heart. So even though it doesn't have the same luster it did, in years gone by, I still think it was a big deal. But for me, the 2 times I got to do the Breeders' Cup from Santa Anita, I did it from there twice, and I did it once at Keeneland. You got the best of the best. You get a chance. It's like going to a high school reunion and running into people you haven't seen in decades, and you go, "Wow, that's Mr. O'Brien." Yes, he actually came up at Keeneland. He's got that Irish brogue, and he just goes, "Hey, I was hoping to see you and Millie Ball together, but I got to tell you, I like what you're doing, son. I like it." And I had to take a picture and send it back to Millie. Like a goofy selfie of both of us going. So it was, but yeah, the Breeders' Cup is an amazing thing. I mean, sometimes people will go, "Oh, is one horse going to win the race?" It doesn't matter. It's just the vibe of being there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No, I couldn't agree more. Those events are what they're the dream of everybody to be a part of those days in some form or other. So I feel you on that one. The other question I had was you've been lucky enough to be around what I consider to be probably the smartest handicappers in North America. The crews that work Southern California, from Nick Hines to TQ to Brad Free to Steve Anderson to all these Benny South Street, John White, Kurt Hoover.
Sure.
There's just an endless amount. The clockers, some of my what I think are the best clockers around for observations. But what I wanted to ask you was, of all, not to put you on the spot here, but who when someone tells you something of the group of handicappers there, who was the one guy that when he does say something to you, you go, yeah, I really, really have to respect this, and I'm gonna yield from this. Who would that person be?
Wow. Man, that is a very good question and an almost impossible one to answer. But I would have to probably say Brad Free. Brad does a ridiculous amount of pre-work stats. This is not to say that everyone else doesn't. They're amazing. Everybody's amazing in their own right. But Brad Free, to me, from a handicapping standpoint, because it's different. I remember one time being on the air, and my partner, Shell Yu, at the time, got like a thing on Twitter or X, whatever it was calling, where it was basically ripping her and a couple of the cohorts, be saying, "Well, fine, you come on the ticket, but you guys don't play." And she quickly typed in, "You can say what you want about us, but don't ever for a minute think that Peter Lurie doesn't bet his own horses because I watch him do it every single day." So to me, that was, I mean, very sweet of her,
Yeah.
and it was true. But that's why Brad Free, he's not like an addict, there's a difference. But a guy who knows what he knows and puts his money what he knows where his mouth is, so to
Mm.
speak.
Yeah.
I mean, that really, but like I said, everybody, for me, if you're looking for somebody and you're going to go, oh, yes, if you're looking for somebody who is an absolute historian who can just rattle off, I love doing it with him because we just play rapid fire. What about him? What about him? What about her? What about her? Jay Hubday, one of
Yeah.
the best authors in the game of racing has ever been. And I'll debate anybody who wants to say, "Oh, well, that's not true. It's so and so and so and so." No, you're looking for a historian, a true lover of the game, which we all are, present company included. But by the way, Tommy Wolski, I just want to throw that one out for you, Vancouver folks. Tommy Wolski. I used to
Yeah.
love going and seeing him at big races. He would always be there for the Vancouver Journal or whatever the paper was. Rest his
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
I really I love reading his stuff. And right now I can tell you, I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but I've been lucky enough. He asked me to voice the audiobook of one of his books that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. It's a fantastic book, but I can't
Oh,
say what
wow.
it is because that's his business and the owner's business who is doing the book. But it's amazing, and I feel very honored to be doing it.
We have
Wow.
Jay on next Thursday. Actually, he's coming on to do an educational day. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
So you
It
go,
ties.
well, Peter said.
But Steve Richards, did you have a question, my friend?
Come on, Steve.
Oh, Steve, you know what? I don't think your mic's on, my friend.
Come on, Steve.
Oh, I think you. Do you see a little chat box, Steve? That you can click in. You can type your question. I'll be able to read it if you can. If not, don't worry. We have a couple of seconds here.
I want to hear from Steve.
Me
Steve's
too.
looking Steve's looking very intent the whole time. I like that. Yeah. Steve, just do this. It's been and I can read it. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you. What?
Okay. Let's see
I
here.
remember the name George Royal. Oh, it said that's all it said.
Was he a big closer?
George Royal?
Yeah.
Gotta remember I was 4 years old. I just remember that
Come on, you know it.
he was kind of a mid-packer. Your father and I discuss this all the time. The great Jeffrey Singar. By the way, Blues the Standard, Bud Royale. Making an amazing amount with a very little investment, my opinion. That was just such a tip of the hat to the whole Cigara family. And I'm so glad they're back in racing. So glad. As far as George Royal is concerned, he was kind of a mid-packer type. When you're on the grass, and like I was bringing up Jeffrey, we've had this discussion. Yes, speed. I love speed if you can get out in an early lead on the grass. But the key on the grass, more times than not, is having an actual turn of foot, which means you can at the top of the stretch just go, and here he goes, and the horse, you can feel it. I've been aboard horses when all of a sudden you just feel their head go down and they start accelerating. That's something you can't teach. Either they have it or they don't. And I think George Royal, he was a fighter. If you watch that race, look it up on YouTube. He's not his now, but for his time, he was just a fighter. He got in there and went eye to eye with somebody. And Longden, who was known as a speed rider, it's a little departure than from what he normally would do.
Perfect. I think his mic, I think he'd probably want to respond and say thank you, but his mic's not working. But Peter, I want to say thank you on behalf of all of us. I can't
That's
thank you
it?
enough, man. That's it. That's it, my friend.
What the hell? What a chip. What a chip.
I
Wow,
thought
that was fun.
I saw an hour come up, hour and a half close to, and I said, "Uh-oh, I think he's gonna get angry at me after this call." You
Fine,
said it was gonna be
fine.
40 minutes.
Fine. I don't know you. You don't know me. Whatever. I do not have a nephew. Great. I
Oh
absolutely
man.
love my nephew. And I mean it wholeheartedly. I am so proud of what you, Anita, obviously Jeffrey and Naz raised you right. And it's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing this kid get married and see some other little Singaras running around. And they're going to go with Papa to the racetrack. I know that's going to happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Peter, truly.
I tried to get your dad to adopt me, but I guess there was an age
You're already,
stipulation.
you're
His
already Ellie's
lawyers-
favorite son. That's
his
how my dad
lawyers-
refers
Come
to
on,
you.
His
come
lawyers
on over.
frowned on it.
There's a bedroom upstairs waiting for you.
Don't test me, mister. I just would love to see the lawyers going, okay, let me get this straight. He's actually older than you, but you want to adopt him? What is that?
Oh,
We live
man.
in strange times. Anything goes seems nowadays.
Yes, we do. Give a big hug to Naz for me and Anita. And all I can say is, guys, I'm so glad to be part of it. What you have to do for me, Kev, is when you start getting your horses ready to go, I got to figure out the way to go up there because I want to be
You got to
able
come
see
up.
your
You
races.
got to come up and be part of it. And hopefully we get in our winner circle with you, and you'll be our lucky charm that has to always fly up for every race then. So it'll be
Oh, well,
expensive,
you know,
an expensive lucky charm.
that's what credit cards are all about. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank
You're
you.
Thank you.
welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very
I've been
much.
looking at you the whole
Thank you so
time,
much,
lady.
Peter.
Mhm. Thank you to everybody. Hey, you guys,
you.
you're in the right hands
Good
with these
night.
people.